Good morning to one and all. This is T. Dinesh Kumar. I am going to take electromagnetic field and waveguide subject. Topic is Introduction to Waveguides. I hope you all will be get benefited during this COVID-19 period through this lecture session. So let us go to the presentation. I hope you all are able to see the presentation. Yeah. So to start with, the topic is waveguides. Waveguides are two-wire transmission line systems that are used for transferring electromagnetic waves from one point to another point at microwave frequencies. The waveguides, just a minute. The waveguides are essentially used in coaxial lines where we don't have any core conductors in that. They act as guiding structures that connects the transmitter and receiver section operating at microwave frequencies. So these are just like coaxial cables without having a central conductor. So I will show you the different types of waveguides. You can see the circular waveguide, hollowic in nature, elliptical waveguide, hollowic in nature, rectangular waveguide, hollow in nature. So the advantages of this is that due to the larger surface area, the copper loss can be reduced. We can handle more power compared to the coaxial cable. Our dielectric losses are also minimized here. So the heating of insulation between the conductors doesn't take place. And the dielectric medium that we use is always air, so we have lower dielectric losses also. So this is why we choose waveguides as a transmission medium from transmitter to receiver. So there are some practical disadvantages when we use this. The first one is that the width of the waveguide should be approximately half of the wavelength of the frequency. The dimensions of the waveguide to be determined should be half wavelength. Second one is that it is difficult to install. We need to have a rigidity of the waveguide and there should be hollow pipe shaped structures. So now let us see how energy propagates in waveguides. So always our energy is in the form of electromagnetic wave. So we have both the electric field and magnetic field, and the superimposition of this electric field and magnetic field together posts your electromagnetic energy. So what is E field? So as we had seen in unit 1 and 2, so electric field exists when there is a difference of potential causing due to a stress in the dielectric between 2 points. So the simplest way to represent this electric field is the capacitor. A capacitor is having two plates, one is positive and another is negative. So in between those two plates, when we pass an electromagnetic voltage, we get electric field. So this is how a capacitor is, positive and negative. So the instantaneous wave is being transmitted when we generate electromagnetic waves over distance of lambda. Then next, what is H field? You all are familiar with H field, the magnetic field intensity. How do you get the magnetic field intensity? H is that magnetic lines of forces along a continuous closed loop structures. We get magnetic lines of forces. These magnetic lines of forces are caused by the current flow through the connective material of the waveguide. So this is how we get magnetic field. A magnet having a conductor. So when we pass electric voltage, there is a loop being created. So that gives you magnetic field. So then how the waves within the waveguides transmit. So the combination of the electric field and magnetic field form a wavefront that can be represented by alternative negative and positive peaks at half wavelength intervals. So this is being done by pointing vector. That, as you can see, that the pointing vector uses the right hand rule. So just a minute, there is an audio quality degraded. Okay. I'll, yeah. Okay. Right hand rule. So we have the right hand rule that you all are familiar. Take the right hand rule. So the index finger represents your H field, thumb finger represents your E field, and the middle finger represents the direction of propagation of your wave. So E and H together, when they are perpendicular to each other, the direction of propagation will be perpendicular to both electric field and magnetic field. So this is what the right hand rule states. So we have a parameter called cutoff frequency in the waveguides. So what is cutoff frequency? Is that frequency that causes angles of incidence and angle of reflection to be perpendicular to the walls of the waveguide. So at this cutoff frequency, the wavefronts will be reflected back and forth across the guide, setting up a standing waves such that there is no energy being conducted down the waveguide. Okay. Then we have another parameter called group velocity. Group velocity is the forward progress velocity of the wavefront in the waveguide. So this velocity is always having a path of traveling of zigzag path that is taken by the wavefront, and the velocity of propagation of the wave is always lesser than the speed of the light. Then how do we determine this group velocity? Is that the reflection angle of the wavefronts of the walls B determines the reflection angle by the frequency of its input energy. So as the frequency is decreased, the reflection angle increases, causing the group velocity to decrease. So increasing the frequency increases the group velocity. This is how we determine group velocity. So this diagram illustrates the three different frequencies inside a waveguide. So low frequency, medium frequency, and higher frequency. So you can make a note of the time of that. So 1t is equal to 1 cycle of positive and negative amplitudes of a signal. So with that you can calculate t's. for low frequency, medium frequency, and higher frequency. So this represents your half wave of electric field in rectangular waveguides. So you can see the rectangular waveguides is having a dimension of A as your length and B as your breadth. So you can see the arrow mark indicates the amplitude level in half of the electric field. And this is for a full cycle. You can see that when your positive half cycle is there, the wave travels from lower to your upper, and when it is being traveling with negative, it goes from upper to lower along the walls of B. Now we are going to see the same for magnetic field. When you send half sine wave, you can see that the direction is along the loop. Yes. So next there are modes of operation. The waveguides always yields an electric field configuration called as half sine electric distribution, which we call it as mode of operation. There are different modes being exhibited by each and every electromagnetic wave. In the mode, the most efficient mode of operation is called as the dominant mode, which has lowest cutoff frequency, and this waveguide should have an element of wider dimension of A, of having at least half a wavelength of the frequency to be propagated for maximum efficiency and having lower cutoff frequency. There are two different types of modes available: transverse electric mode, transverse magnetic mode. The entire electric field in the transverse plane, which is perpendicular to the waveguide, will give you direction of magnetic field to be as parallel to the length of axis. The thing is that direction of energy will travel only along T propagation. Whereas in transverse magnetic, the entire magnetic field is in transverse plane and has no portion parallel to the length of the axis. So we get in transverse electric, we get Ez is equal to 0, whereas in transverse magnetic, we get Hz is equal to 0. So this is the dominant mode in rectangular waveguides. Obviously, we all are familiar with the rectangular waveguide structure, which I had shown in the earlier slides. TE10. TE m comma n is equal to 1 comma 0. M is equal to 1 and n is equal to 0. So this determines your maximum mode of propagation. Okay. For this port 3 4 n p0 1. Dominant mode in rectangular waveguide is determined by the electric fields that are perpendicular to the walls A, and the first subscript is I, since there is only one half wavelength pattern across the A dimension and there is no E field pattern across the B dimension, so the second script is always 0. So that's what M is equal to 1 and N is equal to 0. So the complete mode description of the dominant mode rectangular waveguide can be given as TE10. If you have any questions or queries in this lecture session, you can email me at this mail ID. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can raise it. I will address you. Right. Hope you all are fine at home. Stay home. Stay safe. See you soon at college. Thank you.